Here we go.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. But there's something wrong with it. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in the mind, driving you mad. Take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I'm your huckleberry.
All right, and welcome everybody to another edition of Enclosed Cosmology Fellowship. I'm Anthony. I don't see anyone in the chat yet, but maybe some people will trickle in a little while, and that'd be great. That'd be really awesome. Well, a lot's been going on, right? Everybody has been talking about the drones in the sky and all that stuff, and everybody starts looking into the sky, and then all of a sudden, planes start flying out of the sky or start falling out of the sky at the speed of missiles. So that's kind of weird, I guess. But we might not get too much into that topic tonight because we're going to be hopefully finishing up this letter that was sent to Dave and doing a little studying of the scriptures. So, and I hope everybody can hear me. There's no one in the chat yet. Maybe I can hear myself. Let's see. Okay, I can be heard. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, we're going to be hopefully continuing on with that letter. About last week, there was someone that joined in from the chat, and I hope everyone doesn't think that was really an argument or anything. We welcome, differences of opinions and stuff like that, just as long as it stays cordial and everybody's just kind of, being nice to each other, not a lot of interrupting and stuff like that. Now, if anybody does want to join, I did put a new link in the description, so you'll be able to join that link. And if you would let me know, because I'm not able to see the let me know in the text chat on YouTube if you do join from YouTube, and then I can go give you the roles to get into the chat and everything. Other than that, but just to, if there's a debate or something, there's some disagreement, that's perfectly fine. That's what we're here to do. We're studying. But just expect moderation, just other than that, we kind of welcome everybody, and hopefully everybody could join in and have a blast. But anyway, I'm gonna okay, they were talking in the chat. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna unmute right quick and get them joined in. 1 second. I forgot to do this. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome, Dave. I serve the one I am, and Woman of Valor. Welcome. Glad y'all could all join us this evening. Dave, you made it just in time, brother. I was just finishing up the kind of introduction on YouTube, and was just jumping in the chat to let y'all say hello if y'all wanted to, or however y'all want to do that. But yeah, we whenever you're ready to get into that letter will be fine as well. If
Yeah, whatever. Everybody wants to say hi and whatever is awesome too.
yeah, that's I was
Hey, good evening.
sorry.
I was just saying good evening. I didn't mean to jump in and interrupt you.
No, I interrupted you, and that was my bad. I was just telling people in YouTube land, if they wanted to join in, just be cordial and try not to interrupt. And there I go interrupting, but yeah, I didn't mean to.
Well, it's kind of hard to know when to jump in, though. It's kind of a pause moment there, you know?
Yeah, and with me, it's pretty bad at times. I'm aware. There's too much going on in my mind at once, I guess. But yeah, we've been having some plane crashes lately. I think the one of the truck drivers said he had just heard that there was number 7 or something, maybe 9 or something, as of last week. What's going on with that? And they're falling like missiles.
I'm really sorry. I haven't paid attention to that. I've heard people talk about it, but so I don't have anything to add.
Well, I've been just seeing it around, like on Facebook. Like a couple of months ago, it was the drones were gonna. What's that?
Oh, never mind. Keep going. I went and clicked on YouTube, so then you talk. I heard it on the YouTube, and then you start talking, and I'm like, wait, there's a lag, and then I realized what was happening. Go
Oh,
ahead, keep going.
I got you. Yeah, that messes with me as well. I can't listen to it. That's the only way I can see the chat, though. Um, yeah, I just been just kind of seeing it on Facebook. Just all kinds of craziness happen. Drones and the mothership is allegedly in the Gulf of Mexico. People standing out on the beach filming it. I don't know if I believe that one, but I don't know if I believe any of them, to be honest. I've not seen a drone.
It only makes me wonder what they're trying to do. And of course, you have the verse about, he'll be is that he'll be given power to do all sorts of lying signs and wonders. So it just makes me wonder what distractions and stuff too from what's really going on. So what's really going on, you know?
Yeah, I've been wondering that for a while. It, I was just telling a friend of mine today, it's like, is it prophecy being fulfilled? Or are they just trying to make it look like prophecy is being fulfilled? Or are the scriptures talking about them making it look like prophecy is being fulfilled? Either way, there's a lot of things that seem to be happening that seems to be fulfilling some prophecies, or at least to a minor extent. But before we get into the prophecy stuff, maybe we should keep going over this first elementary doctrine before we get into the last ones. Um, were you going to say something else? I apologize if I interrupted. If not, Dave, would you have you a marker where we left off last week? I know we didn't get very far,
Yeah,
but
I mean, we started reading pretty much, you know, what some people like to use against us, basically saying, that the Sabbath's been not the Sabbath, but the law has been done away with, or the commandments been done away with, and she kind of was implying that it was only for the Jews, but then they don't have to do it because it's been done away with. So the last scripture that I had that she written down in this last little bit before I was going to go on my own little, showing my verses why I don't think these things are done away with, was Ephesians 2:15 was what she had written down here. So you flip over to that. Sorry, I should have been a little better prepared. It was hard getting out of work today.
oh, that's perfectly okay, brother. It was hard me leaving work today too. Just couldn't seem to get out the door, if we had doors anyway.
So Ephesians 2:15, and it says, having abolished in his flesh enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself or twine one new man, so making peace. So they're trying to say that he's now abolished, or has gotten rid of the commandments and the ordinances. Um,
That one's a good one. So, if you don't mind me jumping in real quick.
no, go for it.
I mean, I don't have much to say, but my first thing on that one, because I've actually seen, I was actually having a conversation on a YouTube channel with a Jew about this, because he was trying to debunk Paul and be like, see, Paul's saying this and that. And I'm like, wait, let's back up. But he brought that one up. I'm like, ooh. My first thing would be those, what does it mean by this ordinance? What is this enmity? And I was trying to ask him this because sometimes they will have certain things that sort of connect some pieces, if you want to say. Like, for instance, I never made the connection that when the high priest goes into the Holy of Holies, they actually look at that as him literally ascending into heaven to do the offering when they go behind the veil. And I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I'm not like, clinging on clinging on everything they have to say, but I think those little things are neat connections. But anyway, I was trying to ask him, because he had actually brought that up too. Like, so what is this enmity between us and Yah? Why is it, what is this? Because that's what I was trying to pull out of him about that verse. And I'm still learning it. But I think it has to do with whatever that sin and death law that we were talking about last week. And see, there's something I haven't connected yet. So those of you that know more about this, it'd be awesome to hear from you. But there's something to do with that law of sin and death. And I think that's what this particular chapter is also, or this, what you just read, has to do with that too. Because it's that enmity. And someone else also talked about it being that, I don't know if you would call it a separation or a divide or a whatever, because they connect it with the whole there's no longer Jew, Greek, male, female. So they're like saying this also points to the other nations being able to be grafted in outside of Israel. So I don't know, but I just really don't have anything to add, but I just wanted to put those thoughts out there.
Yeah, well, thank
So
you very
so
much for
Adam,
sharing.
in the my Bible, I have a footnote where it says, by his death, Yeshua abolished amnesty between the Jews and the Gentiles. He also removed the ordinances referring to the man-made or rabbinical law, which separates Jew from Gentile.
That's interesting.
And they said Colossians 2:14 was a footnote, and I don't really know what that exactly says, so we'll maybe I'll look that up and see what that has to say.
That word
Yeah, I
Gentile
just wanted
is
to say though. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no. You go ahead. You go ahead, please.
No, like I can see how it's easily to be like, oh, see this law, but that's why I'm referring back to what this, what is that law of sin and death exact? Like I just don't have full comprehension of that, but it doesn't make sense that it has to do with Yah's instructions, the Torah, his commandments, and the reason I say that is because of what I was talking about before, and I'm really thankful, Dave, that you, or sorry, excuse me, Enoch, that you shared or reminded me about that with morality and all that, because going to what good and bad or sin really is it comes down to what's functional, properly functioning, and what's in order of how he created everything to be. So to say that his order, what he's given us to instruct us how to function properly and how to do things in the order he's created us to do makes no sense to say that. So that's why I'm like, this can't have anything to do with that, because it wouldn't. How, why are we? What are we being renewed to? What good works are we doing then? We're doing what
Yeah.
what he's created us to do. But anyways, go ahead.
So the Colossians 2:14, and this does go hand in hand with this, says blotting out the handwriting of the ordinances that were against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to the stake. So some people would be like, "Oh, you see, that's again the law." But again, the footnote on that would say, it says handwriting, something handwritten, i.e., manuscript, and it says ordinances derived from the Greek word dogma, meaning civil, ceremonial, or ecclesiastical, ecle, messing that word up, law. This verse is not referring to the old commandments, which are not against man but are good for him. And then they give us, Deuteronomy 6:24 and Romans 7:12. But man-made tradition and commentary that was contrary to Yah's law.
Hmm.
And then basically, saying the same thing that you would see in the Ephesians, you know. Um,
Yeah, I agree that would fit together too. I had found that it could very well be referring to the very first, because obviously when Adam and Eve they were told not to eat of that fruit, that it would bring death, and so that's where that's the part that haven't fully understood just yet, like what exactly happened there, and what did that law of sin and death pertain to, and then that record of debt that was nailed to the cross. Which the interesting thing is, when you go to Romans, he says that where there is no law, there is no sin. But they went and broke that first commandment, so therefore it was the first thing written in the records. Like that's the first debt written and happened to go against all mankind. Because you also have, like, for instance, nobody could enter the Holy of Holies either, and there's like this separation there where now through Messiah we can enter into that, we can enter into the throne room with boldness or whatever it says. So there's, sorry, I'm there's some stuff that I've been catching on to and learning about this, but again, I don't have full comprehension of what that exactly entails.
well, so I was gonna go and read, um, in Acts. So in Acts 25:8, it says, while he, so this is when Paul's on trial. And it says, while he answered for himself, neither against the law of the Jews, neither against the temple, nor against Caesar have I offended anything at all. So in his trial, Paul is being tried. This is a guy that everyone says that's, saying that, he's making all these writings saying that the law of Yah is done away with, but yet he's still obeying by it in Acts 25:8.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in I think it's in Acts 28, 17, and it came to pass that after these days Paul called the chief of the Jews together, and when they were come together, he said unto them, man and brethren, though I have I, though I have committed nothing against the people or customs of our fathers, yet was I delivered a prisoner from Jerusalem into the hands of the Romans. And then in Acts, that same 28 and 23, he says, and when they had appointed him a day, there came many to him into the lodge, to whom he expounded, testifying the kingdom of Yah was pursuing them concerning Yeshua, both out of the law of Moses and out of the prophets, from morning till evening. So if these things are done away with, why is he teaching on them? Why is he doing them? In fact, he goes, every day on the Sabbath.
Well, when it comes to the Ephesians 2,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when it comes to Ephesians 2:15, if we look at the next verse, it says, now I know it's different on the screen, but it says, and that he might reconcile them both to Yah in one body through the cross, thereby putting to death the enmity. Now, the enmity comes from not keeping the commandments of Yah. So if we do these things, if we reconcile ourselves and start keeping the commandments, then that puts to death the enmity in our lives. Enmity comes from not keeping Torah, right? So if we put away not keeping the Torah, and start keeping the Torah, then our enmity will go away as well. Right? I mean, am I misspeaking?
No.
I would say it has to do with it, but I still think that that enmity is something to do with that law of sin and death, the ordinance or whatever it is that kept us separated. But for sure, that would add, be a part of that.
I mean, you even have like in Acts 18:4, and it says, and he resumed in the synagogue every Sabbath and pursued the Jews and the Greeks. And then in 21, he writes, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep the feast that comes in Jerusalem, but I will return again unto you, if Elohim will, and I will be sailing from Ephesus. So it's like, man, Paul's keeping the law, man. It's like, I mean, it's all over Acts, them keeping the law. And in fact, I was going to see if both you and Woman of Valor wanted to help on this, because there's a lot of scriptures that are in here. But so I have a list here of the 10 Commandments in the New Testament. So the the first commandment, thou shalt have no other god or no other mighty ones before me. Um, we have Yeshua talking about it in Matthew 4:10 and in John 4:24, but then you have it in Revelation 19:10.
Which one would you like me to read, brother?
Why don't you read? You love Revelation, so why don't you read the Revelation 19:10?
Just one verse.
I
19:10.
mean, you can go before and after. It's no problem, but 10 is the one that.
Well, yeah, I'll just read the 10 because the rest of this chapter there's a lot going on here. But it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him, but he said to me, "See that you do not do that. I am your fellow servant and of your brethren who have the testimony of Jesus. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy."
So he's telling you, do not worship anybody else besides the people that you're told to worship. So if if these people are correct by saying that the 10 Commandments are done away with, we could worship whoever we want to worship.
Hey, I don't want to get too drawn off on the topic, but how would a Trinitarian describe this particular verse?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyway, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
No, it's fine. Um, and we
They
could
would
read the
make
math.
up some kind of hoopla. Sorry.
Yeah, we could read the Matthew and the John. I just know that some people try to argue that just because Yeshua did it, he died and it's done away with once he died. But that's still the New Testament, the Matthew 10 and the John 4:24. It's up to you guys. What do you think? Should we read it or go to the next one? Because the next one has a bunch too.
Well, I'm in
Has
John.
4 scriptures.
You said 4:24
Okay.
in John, but if
Yep.
somebody'd like to read the Matthew verse first,
We'll
we could
read the
do that.
John and I'll flip to the Matthew and then we'll read the Matthew.
Okay, so John 4:24 says, "Yah is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." Well, ain't it amazing that the Messiah says he's the way, the truth, and the life?
10 and then Matthew 4:10. Then Yeshua unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship Yah thy Elohim, and him only shalt thou serve. So that's the first commandment now in the New Testament. Actually written more than even in the Old Testament, because there's only 2 verses in the Old Testament they have here, in Exodus and in Deuteronomy 5. So the second commandment, thou shalt make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them, which is originally in Exodus 4, Exodus 20, 4 through 6, and Deuteronomy 5, 8 and 10. So we have the first one is Acts 15:20.
Which one was that?
And then we got Acts 15:20, verse 20 is the first one.
Sorry, I have to turn to it.
No, I have to turn it to you. I'm a paper.
Yeah. Did you want to go ahead and say something about that other verse before I read it, or you wanted me to go ahead and read this now?
Go ahead and read it, and I'll read the next one because it's in Acts again.
All right. Acts 15:20 says, but that we write to them to abstain from things polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, from things strangled, and from blood. That's a good one there.
So I got Acts 17:29, I think is what it is. Let me make sure. 17:29. For so much then as we are the offspring of Elohim, we ought not to think that the majestic is like unto gold or silver or stone or graven by the art of man's devices. The mystery. Okay. Um, Now we have Romans 1:23 through 25.
Would you like me to read that one?
Yeah, go for it.
3:23 through 25, correct?
It's 1:23 through 25. Yep.
All right. And change the glory of the incorruptible Elohim into an image made like corruptible man, and birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Therefore Yah also gave them up to uncleanness, there we go, in the lust of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of Yah for the lie, and and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen.
All right. And so the next one I'm going to read is 1 Corinthians 8, and it's 1 through 13. And then after that is, I believe it's um, 1 Corinthians 10:14. If you want to look up that one, Anthony.
All right.
Now, as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge puffed up, but charity defiled. And if a man thinks that he knows anything, he knows nothing, yet as he ought to know. But if a man loves Elohim, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore eating of things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other Elohim but one. For thou are there be that are called deities, where'er in heaven or in earth, as there be deities many and masters many. But to us there is but one Elohim, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in Him, and one Master, Yeshua, Messiah, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit there is not in every man the knowledge, for some with consistence of idols unto their hour eat it as a thing offered unto idol, and their consonance being weak and defiled. But meat condemneth us not to Elohim, for neither if we eat are we better, neither if we eat not are we worse. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours because a stumbling block to them that are weak. For if any man sees these which has knowledge sit at meat in an idol temple, shall not the consonance of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? And thou thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish for whom Messiah died. But when we but when ye sin to against the brethren, and would their weak conscience ye sin against Messiah. Wherefore, if meat makes a brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the other standeth, lest I make my brother to offend. I don't know why they had to eat all the way to there. All right,
It,
you want
it,
to read 4?
oh wait, 4? You mean 10?
And yeah, 10:14. Sorry.
Yeah. Look, while you were reading or whatever, I, I'm seeing my avatar light up. Am I interrupting? Is it coming through? Is it messing y'all up?
Not me.
No, maybe you're breathing and it's just catchy.
I guess so, 'cause I see it's extremely sensitive acting, but anyway, hopefully it's not too terrible. I'll have to do some adjustments if it is. Uh, but I
I
want
don't
to.
hear anything.
All right, cool. Um, 1 Corinthians 10. I wanted to start in verse 13 actually. It
Go for it.
says no temptation has overtaken you except such is common to man, as is common to man. But Yah is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. Therefore, my beloved, flee from idolatry. And did you want me to continue?
No, that's. I mean, that's. I would say that definitely goes with don't make any graven image and don't serve that graven image. You know what I mean? Because adultery would be serving another you know god or another Elohim. Um,
I will agree.
so now we're on to the fourth commandment, um, which is remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Um, and we have a whole bunch of scriptures here. Do you want to do the ones with Messiah, um, or do you want to just stick to pretty much Paul's writings on that one, Anthony?
Um, yeah, we could. I'd do the Messiah. It doesn't matter. I was sorry, I was a little
Well, this
distracted. I
one's
was looking
got a.
at the chat.
It's fine. It's got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 14 parts to read if we go do them all. That was the only reason. I didn't know if you wanted to. I have no problem. I love reading the Bible, so it don't bother me none. So the first one is Matthew 12:8.
All right, just Matthew 12. Matthew 12:8 says, "For the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath." For the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath.
Now I've already read this one, but we'll read it again. It's in Matthew 24. It's 24:20. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, and that's the olive press prophecy for the end times. The next one is Mark, and it's Mark 1, Mark 1:21.
Mark 1:21 says, Then they went then they went into Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught.
Okay, and so I'm going to be doing Mark 2:27 and 28. And no man puts new wine into an old bottle, else the new wine does burst the bottle, and the wine is spilled, and the bottle will be marred, but the new wine must be put into a new. Oh, sorry, wrong one. 27. Um, and he and he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not the man for Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is master also of the Sabbath. And then after that, we got Luke 4:16.
4:16 says, So he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read.
All right. So now I'm going to Luke 23. 23:56. I believe it is after Yeshua passed away, or he died for our sins. And they returned and prepared spices and ornaments and rested the Sabbath day according to the commands. And this is after he passed away and after he died for our sins and was crucified. That's when they said that the law has been abolished, but yet his followers are still keeping and doing this. And so now we got Acts 13:14.
Acts 13:14.
Yep.
That's still right there. It says, But when they departed from Perga, if I'm pronouncing that right, they came to Antioch to Pisidia, and went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down. And after the reading of the law and the prophets, the rulers of the synagogue sent to them, saying, Men and brethren, if you have any word of exhortation for the people, say on. Oh, that could be that could be a study in itself right there. The rest of that chapter. I'll continue to read. Go ahead, brother.
Well, you can now, if you want, you can read now 42 and 44 and 13 all the way. I mean, 42 to 44 if you want.
All right. It says, And when the Jews went out to the synagogue, the Gentiles begged that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath. Now when the congregation had broken up, many of the Jews and devout proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of Yah. And the next Sabbath, almost the whole city came together to hear the word of Yah. But when the Jews saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy, and contradicting and blaspheming, they opposed the things spoken by Paul.
Okay, now
What was that?
I'm going to read. Oh, that was it. So now I'm going to read Acts 15:21, and this is when they like to say, oh, the law's another, 15's another, scripture in Acts where it's done, it's done away with. But in 21 it says, for Moses of old times has in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogue every Sabbath day. So again, they're listening to the law on the Sabbath. And now again, Acts, it's 16:13. You want to read that one?
16:13. It says, and on the Sabbath day we went out of the city to the riverside, where prayer was customarily made, and we sat down and spoke to the women who met there. That was that the right
Okay,
one?
and then, yeah, it's on the Sabbath day. And then the next one is 17:2. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and there 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures. So his manner, that's what he does, is to go on the synagogue on the Sabbath day. And then the next one is 18, and it's 4 through 11.
18, 4 through 11. And this is me, huh?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, and he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded both Jews and Greeks. When Silas and Timothy had come to Macedonia, Paul was constrained by the Spirit and testified to the Jews that Yeshua is the Christ. But when they opposed him and blasphemed, he shook his garments and said to them, your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From now on, I will go to the Gentiles. And he departed from there and entered the house of a certain man named Justus, one who worshipped Yah, whose house was next door to the synagogue. Then Crispus, the ruler of the synagogue, believed on the Lord with all his household, and many of the Corinthians, hearing, believed and were baptized. Now the Lord spoke to Paul in the night by a vision. Do not be afraid, but speak, and do not keep silent. For I am with you, and no one will attack you to hurt you, for I have many people in this city. And he continued there a year and 6 months, teaching the word of Yah among them. Do I continue?
Then we had then you had there's like 15, and it said, but if it be question of the words and names of your law, look ye to it, for I will be no judge of such matters. And then again in 21, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that comes in Jerusalem, but I will return again unto you if Elohim wills. And he sailed from Ephesus. So now we have Colossians 2:16.
Colossians.
Which is don't judge. Yeah. Let no man therefore judge you in any means, or in meat, or in drink, or in respect of any holy day, or of new moon, or of Sabbath day, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Messiah. So a lot of people always say, "Oh, this means you could do whatever you want." But I mean, I just don't see this scripture as that because it's a shadow of things to come. And I think that, but by the body is of Messiah, I think that means the only people that are allowed to talk to you about these things are basically your brethren. Like, hey, man, you're doing something wrong. That's how I perceive that scripture. Um, and then the last one would be Hebrews 4. Um, and you could just read 4 all the way to 10. They kind of break it up. They just say 4 and then they say go to 10 and then or go to 8 and then 10. But I'd just say we read 4 all the way to 10.
Verses 1 through 10.
No, verse 4 all the way to 10.
Okay, I got you. Chapter 4, correct?
Yep.
All right. It says, "For he has spoken in a certain place of the seventh day in this way, and Yah rested on the seventh day from all his works. And again this place, they shall not enter my rest. Since therefore it remains that some must enter it, and those whom it was first preached did not enter because of disobedience. Again, he designates a certain day, saying in David, today, after such a long time, as it has been said, today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua had given them rest, then, wait, okay, for if Joshua had given them rest, then he would not afterwards have spoken of another day. There remains therefore a rest for the people of Yah. For he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works as Yah did from his. Let us therefore be diligent to enter that rest, lest any one fall after the same example of disobedience. For the word of Yah is living and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit, and of joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him who sit to whom sorry, open to the eyes of him to whom we must give account. Sorry, I read a little further.
Oh no! Honestly, it goes to me. It goes all hand in hand. It's basically, some people will take this verse. Oh, you see, we're just supposed to be in His. We're in Yeshua's rest. But to me, as you read that, it kind of telling you not to labor, and it's telling you to keep the Sabbath. Is the way I perceive that as it was read. I don't know about you guys. Um, But when you were reading that, I was like, yeah, that's exactly how I remember reading it in the past. Like we need to keep that seventh day.
Absolutely.
Okay. The fifth commandment, which is honor thy father and thy mother.
Hey, before we move on to the
Verse 1
fifth commandment, can I mention something right quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Back in Acts chapter 18, verse 6, it says, "But when they opposed him and blasphemed, he shook his garments and said to them, Your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From now on, I will go to the Gentiles." Now, I've got to look it up, but that word Gentile, it's only used in the sense of being from another nation or like a Greek only 7 times. And I'm wondering if that's one of the times. I've got them written down somewhere, but I don't have it available at this moment. But anyway, the word Gentile is it's only used 7 times as is referring to someone from another nation. All other times it's referring to a heathen or someone who the does not follow the Messiah or does not follow Yah, do not follow their commandments. Anyway, I just wanted to point that one out. That might be one of those times where he says, "From now on, I will go to the Gentiles." He may not be speaking of the heathens. He he may be speaking of someone from another nation.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
no, that's yeah. I was going to say we can move on to the fifth commandment there, and I just kind of wanted to point that out, and I'm not even sure if that's one of the times or not. I'd have to look back in my notes, but
And then I know you don't see when others join, but just wanted to give a welcome to Damon. Damon join. Or sorry, Fury. I should not be using names.
Hey, thanks. I don't mind. Yeah, thank you.
welcome, Damon.
Glad I made it.
It's good to have you.
Do you want to add anything, Damon, for what you heard when you just came in or anything like that? Or fear Yah?
No, I agree with y'all. Yeah, I'm just interested in getting more of these commands.
Yeah, so the fifth one is honor thy father and thy mother. And of course we have, Exodus 20 and we have Deuteronomy 5 where you can find this command in the Torah. So the first part of the New Testament we find this in is Matthew 19:19. You want to read that, Anthony?
Yeah, I can do that. Matthew 19:19. All right, it says, "Honor your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself." That's a good one, bro. I don't even have that one highlighted either.
So I'll read Mark 10:19. Thou knows the commandments: do not commit adultery, do not kill, do not steal, do not bear false witness, defraud, not honor thy father and thy mother. So I mean, he's pretty much going down the list of the commandments not to do to your neighbors. The second half of the commandments is what he's basically saying there in Mark 10:19. Yeshua, our Messiah. And then after that is Luke 18:20. You want to read that, Anthony?
I can. 18:20. You know the commandments. Do not commit adultery. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness. Honor your father and your mother.
Then I'm going to read Ephesians 6:2-3. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou may live long on the earth. So, I mean, Paul's word for word mentioning exactly what this is, and he's even mentioning what the promise is, you know, which just, like I said, it makes it, in my mom's letter, it's saying that these are all done away with. So, if what is correct by her church elders would be, this is all done away with. We don't need to do any of this no more. But yet Paul's, he's quoting it word for word. The next one is Colossians 3:20. You want to read that, Anthony?
Yeah, it might take me a minute to get to Colossians.
I'm right there, so maybe I'll do it because I'm right here. 3:20. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto Yah. Any comments? I mean, I think that's almost a shut door. And I think if you really talk to almost any Christian, they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, we'll do that one,"
Probably,
Yeah,
but
it's pretty much all of them except the Sabbath day. Like they're like, oh yeah, we should obey, do this and that. Of course, you'll get an argument with Catholics about not making a graven image, but still.
And people don't really know what
But if you bring up the
having.
Sabbath, oh, go ahead.
Well, people don't particularly seem to acknowledge what having idols are either. Putting things before Yah, because we do it a lot.
You're right.
we might have to do a study sometime about what idols are and could be. Some of them would probably blow some people's minds.
Definitely. The other thing I think too is I can't remember what letter it is, but that Paul writes. I think it might be to Timothy in like First or Second Timothy, where he talks about the signs of the end times, and one of them I remember it standing out was disobedient to parents and like insolent, kind of like some of the TikTok trends you see now are prophesied by Paul, and the being disobedient to parents is one of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. What was y'all go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree. Whatever Woman of Valor wants to add, she probably has a lot better.
I don't know. I was just agreeing with what Damon said. Is that Second Timothy, chapter 3 or something like that?
I just pulled it up.
Remember?
Yeah, it is. You're actually right on point. 2 Timothy 3:1-5. You should know this, Timothy. Yeah, you should know this, Timothy. In the last days, there will be very difficult times, for people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful and proud, scoffing at Elohim, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful and unrighteous, or unholy. Without natural affections, truce breakers, false accusers, treacherous, rash, conceited, lover of pleasures rather than lovers of Elohim, having a form of godliness, but denying its power, have nothing to do with such people.
Now, what if our parents come to us and tell us to worship an idol?
Well, in the Old Testament, it was punishable by death for anybody to lead you astray, even your parents or siblings or whatever. Like, that's how severe of an issue that is.
Okay, so if we don't worship the idol, though, are we defying our parents?
I would say no, because your first parent is Father above, so he's the one not. If you definitely don't want to defile or defy.
I think whose judgment are you more afraid of, the Father's or your earthly parents? Heavenly Father or earthly parents?
Well, I mean, I know the choice that I would make because I've kind of already made it, but yeah, Kind of a thin line you walk there, isn't it? Especially these days when
Well,
it
that goes
runs so
back to
rapid.
order. Goes back to order though, because we're to love Him with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then love our neighbor. And although our parents, they would be classified as a neighbor. So the proper order is Him first. You know, says Elohim, and then Messiah, and then husband, wife, children. Well, I don't even know if it says children, does it? I don't know, but that would just be a natural thing. But who's the first one that we're to love and obey first? Because the rest won't matter if you're not. In my opinion, the rest don't matter. I mean, I'm sure there's whatever that's you're merited for in a sense when you do or are obedient in other ways. But obviously, we're gonna be doing what He wants us to do because that's what He commanded us to do. But obviously, also instructed what to do if these neighbors, quote unquote, even our parents, if they were to try to lead us away from Him. And I also wanted to say too, Damon brought up a good point. A lot of stuff that's pertained in the law is in those verses where it talks about what won't make it to heaven. Paul talks about it. It's in Revelation 2, chapter 21. You know, what is it? The liars, idolaters, or whatever won't inherit. You know, all those ones about not inheriting the kingdom lists a lot of the stuff that's in His laws, statutes, commandments too.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
I like Revelation 21 says the cowards, the unbelieving, the detestable, the murderers, sexually immoral, the sorcerers, idolaters, liars, they all will have a portion. So if these things are done away with, why list all this stuff that is, you know, has to do with all that? Doesn't make sense if it's done away with because not a lot of these aren't even listed in the Ten Commandments. Even if one's like, oh, we just have to take, you know, do the 10, quote unquote. So anyway, just wanted to say that's another good perspective to look at is what are those lists too in the New Testament.
Yeah, no doubt.
The next commandment would be the sixth commandment: "Thou shalt not murder," um, which again would be in Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5 for the Torah. Our first in the New Testament would be Matthew 5:21 through 22. Do you want to read that, Anthony?
Sure. Say that chapter again. 5:22. You said
5:21 and 22.
21, 22. All right. It says, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, You shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment, and whoever says to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council, but whoever says, You fool, shall be in danger of hell fire."
So mine is Romans 13, and I'm going to read 9. For this thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandments, it be borify, comprehend in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I really
I
messed
just
up
want to
those two.
clarify.
Yeah, go for
There's
it.
a difference between murder and kill. So obviously, not a huge thing, but it's a lot of people that will be like, "Oh, it says don't kill," but then there's all this killing. But as we know, murder is unjustified, taking life unjustifiably, and killing is either accidental or justified. So
No, I would agree with that. Um,
I agree too.
yeah, I just bring it up because he's surprised how many people try to use that as a. I'm sure you guys probably come across it yourselves, but maybe if there's anybody listening online, there's a difference.
There is a difference.
next one is 1 Corinthians 6.
Corinthians 6. The whole chapter?
9 through, no, it's 9 through 10.
9 and
You want
10.
to read that, Anthony?
It says, do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of Yah.
And then I have James 2:11. For he says, do not commit adultery, said also, do not kill or do not murder. Now, if thou commits any adultery, yet if thou murders, thou art become a transgressor of the law. And then we have 1 John 3:15.
1 John 3:15. It says in mine, whoever hates his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him.
I mean, even some of those scriptures we were reading in the one I had you read last before that, Anthony, basically goes over all this. I mean, the Romans I read went over all the stuff that we've gone over.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that kind of summed up everything through that little uh that round of passages.
yeah. Um, the next commandment is thou shalt not commit adultery, and we have Matthew 5:27 through 28.
All right, I'm gonna read it, verse 30. It says, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell." There was something I wanted to make a. Hold on just a second. Yeah, whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery. Um, Now, me personally, I don't think that means just looking at a lady and thinking that, hey, they're pretty or something. I don't think that means that. I think it means actually lust for or whatever.
Yeah, no, I would agree on that. And then I'm going to read Romans 22, and I'm just going to read to 24 because I think it really goes good. Thou sayest, a man should not commit adultery. Does thou commit adultery? That thou abhorrest idols? Does thou commit sacrilege? Thou that makes thy boast the law through breaking the law dishonors thy Elohim. For the name of Yah is blasphemy among the Gentiles throughout you, as it is written. And then we have Romans 13:9. The next one. I can probably read that because I'm right in Romans. I'll give you yours, Anthony, before I start reading. So you can flip there as I'm. So the next one will be 1 Corinthians after I read the Romans. 1 Corinthians 6:9 through 10. So I'm going to read Romans 13:9. For this thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. If any other command, I think I've already read this one tonight, but it's the same, all of it. So yeah, it's 1 Corinthians 6 through 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we read this one already too. It says,
Maybe. All right.
yeah, do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of Yah? Do not be deceived.
Oh yeah.
Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of Yah.
So my last one is 13. It's Hebrews 13:4. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers Elohim will judge. Okay, and so the eighth commandment, thou shalt not steal. We have Matthew 19:18.
19:18. 19. It says, but if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments. Was that all of it? That was 17. That was the rest of 17. My bad. So he said to him, why do you call me? One second. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Just a second. Okay. So he said to him, why do you call me good? No one is good but one, that is Yahweh. But if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments. He said to him, which ones? Yeshua said, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. We read that one already too.
So then I got Romans 2:21. Thou therefore which teaches another, teaches thou not thyself. Thou that preaches a man should not steal, does thou steal? And then the last one is Ephesians 4:28. And it says, "Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands, the things which is good, that he may have to give to him that needs." And then we'll be on to the ninth commandment: "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor," which we already read, the Matthew 19. We got Ephesians 4:25. I'm already in 4, so I can read 25 real quick. "Wherefore, putting away lying, seeking every man's truth with his neighbor, for we are members of one another." Then we got Colossians 3:9.
Hey, I found
Who's ready for
Colossians.
that?
Colossians 3:9 says, "Do not lie to one another, since you have put off the old man with his deeds."
And then we got 1 Timothy 1-10. Which I think has talking about the law. It's a good verse, I think.
I just noticed something else back here in Colossians that I had never noticed before.
All right. Oh, you want to talk about that real quick, and then we can go to the Timothy?
Sure, we can. But it's the next verse though. It says, "And have put and put on the new man, who is renewed in knowledge according to the image of him who created him." I don't
What
know.
do you think that knowledge is?
Maybe this isn't what I was thinking of. In the image of him being the Father who created him. Yeah, I might be wrong about that. It seemed like it was referring to the Messiah.
Well, to me, the biggest part about that is, so if we're made in his image and we're supposed to go to his truth, what is his truth? His truth's the Bible, which would also be the Torah, which would be, good doctrine, not false doctrine that's out there in the world. We would want to be doing, all the subjects we've been talking about tonight.
Right.
So in First Timothy, they just have verse 10, but I'm going to read 8-10 because I always use this. This is an awesome read right here. "But we know that the law is good if man uses it lawfully, knowing this, that the law is not made for the righteous man, but for the lawless, and disobedient, for the wicked, and for the sinners, for unholy, and for profane, for the murderers of fathers, and the murderers of mothers, and the manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with making of men slayers, for liars, for perjurers, for persons, if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine." So that tells you that it's lawful and it's good to use a law if it's done lawfully. So we're on our last of the 10 Commandments: "Thou shalt not covet." And we got Romans 7:7.
Sorry, I'm a little preoccupied at just a moment, brother.
No, I'll read it. I'll read it. I'm right there. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Certainly not. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law, for I had not known lust except the law had said, Thou shalt not covet. And of course, there's Romans 13:9 again, but we're not going to read that because we've already read it a couple times, and we already did the 1 Corinthians 6. We got Ephesians 5:3. We can do that one. I don't think we read that one.
All those little books are so hard for me to get to. Ephesians what? 5 what? 6 you said?
And then we
Uh-oh, am I
got
muted?
Colossians 3:5. No, you're not muted.
I can.
Okay.
So Colossians 3:5. Mortifi, therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornicators, uncleanliness, idolaters, affection, evil, computations, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
I haven't read that one yet. Till just now.
So to me, Paul, Messiah, James, John, they're all pretty much quoting the Ten Commandments from the Old Testament in the New Testament. And I mean, we went through a lot of scriptures there. I would say that the commandments are alive and well in the New Testament, in my personal opinion.
Oh, absolutely. In mine as well. And think they will. And I don't just think. I mean, it says it point blank. Revelation 22:14 and 15. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gate into the city. But outside are dogs, and sorcerers, and sexually immoral, and murderers, and idolaters, and whoever loves and practices a lie. Outside of the kingdom. And that's after the millennial reign. That's after the Messiah returns.
And so my mom finishes off, or wherever she got this. I believe she got this from her elder. I don't think she wrote this. I think she got this from her clergy, or whatever you want to call them. And it says, rather than adhering to the law of Moses, and again, I don't use these. Well, I use these words, but I don't use these words to be I don't know, for my, like, to label myself. The law of Moses, Christians follow a superior law of love. And here's the funny scripture that she puts in here, and we don't need to read it because we already read it multiple times already. Romans 13:9 through 10, which is basically Paul describing the commandments. So they're trying to say that this is now the new law of love, and don't look at the old commandments, even though that's what he's quoting from in that Romans 13:9 and 10. I don't think we need to reread it. I think we read it like 3 times. And then she puts down Hebrews 8:13, which is
Well, hey, before we read that one,
yeah.
Wanted to address something that was said there about the law of Moses. There's no difference in this I know everybody in the chat knows this, but there's no difference between the law of Moses and the law of Yah. It's the exact same thing. And I think a lot of people get the misconception that when in the New Testament they call it the law of Moses, it's not Moses' law. Moses never wrote a law. Moses wrote Yah's law. So whenever the law of Moses is mentioned, it's you might as well just say it's the Torah or the law of Yah, because that's what it's referring to. Anyway, just wanted to kind of clarify that. But you said something about Hebrews, right?
Yeah. So she's now quoting Hebrews 8:13. So, and it reads, in that he says a new covenant, and he has made the first old, and now that which decayeth and waxes old is ready to vanish away. So she's like trying to say, see, now we have this new covenant, we don't need to do anything. But then I would tell her, go read verse 10. You want to read verse 10, Anthony, in 8? So before this new covenant comes, what's he going to do to the people that receive this new covenant?
8:10 it says, For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind and write them on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. I do want to bring up something in 13 as well before we move on.
Go ahead.
Um, in verse 13, at the very end of that verse, it says, uh, uh, Now what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away, meaning that it hasn't happened yet. That hasn't taken place yet. It's preparing itself to. It's getting ready to, or is ready. It's just like not yet receiving the promise, but it's seeing it afar off. But anyway, that's all I wanted to address
think
about that.
Do you think it's old as in before it was written on stone and paper, or however it was written, where now it's what's changing is it's going to be written within us? And then I also actually, now I understand, this is just me asking because I like to, I'm analytical, so I work stuff out in my brain. But now I understand with like a covenant or contract, you then within that contract, you're going to have the stipulations or the, AKA the law and everything. But I, I'm almost sometimes wondering, and I could be completely wrong about this, but is there a sort of difference between the covenant or agreement itself versus the law, or is it both one and the same? Because I also often wonder about that. If it's sort of under the same thing, but not quite. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if I'm making sense either. Because, like, I see a covenant, you're going to have stipulations in it, which to me would be as laws. And then he has the curses, the blessings, and the curses if you break those stipulations or go against what he's put in this covenant. But it just isn't. You would think he would say a new law will be put or something. So I don't know. This is just me running this through my brain, trying to, yeah, I'm probably just causing more confusion, but just wanted to
No.
know.
So to me, with the covenant, it's a two-way contract. So Yah says, okay, you're going to do my law, and then we say, yep, and he says, okay, if you do my law, then I'm going to do this for you. That's my best way to describe
Right.
that. But this is my own perception, and I could be wrong. But when you read this at the very end, it says, okay, so now that which decayeth and waxes old is ready to vanish away. I think that is our bodies. I don't think that's the commandments or the covenant, because now we're receiving
Yeah.
it. It's put in our hearts. We've accepted it. He said, okay. And so now what is old and growing, whatever, is about to vanish. And now we get a new body. And now we're in the kingdom and the law is on our heart.
Mhm.
That's how I perceive that.
And I didn't think of that before, but I mean, it would still make sense where before everything was in stone and on, I'd say on paper, the book, whatever that book, how whatever it was written on papyrus, I don't know. Where now it's being transferred like literally within us, like it's. And when I think of heart, I don't think of my literal heart. Obviously, I'm thinking of my mind, soul, spirit. Like it's just gonna be like we literally should just be walking it out without. It's not even gonna be like something we have to think about. We're gonna be like literally just doing. Period. End of story. Because it'll be literally written within our genetic code per se, if you want to put it that way.
No, I would agree.
Hey, when you're done with this, it's interesting that you brought this up tonight because for our Sabbath study with my children, we're kind of doing a little back to the basics, if you want to say, in a sense. And we started at Deuteronomy 5, and I grabbed definitions for the very first verse, which is says, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and rules or judgments that I speak in your hearing today, and you shall learn them and be careful to do them. And they're nothing like out of the ordinary that we wouldn't understand, but if you don't mind, I'd like to share those when you guys are done.
And we could do that now. I mean, it's on the same topic level.
Okay. So the words, and I went into the ancient Hebrew lexicon and grabbed also words out of the Hebrew etymology book. It for me, it was just giving my children a better understanding what these words meant. I mean, you can go to dictionaries and stuff, but I like going to the Hebrew. So the word for statute. So let me go back to the here. Deuteronomy 5, verse 1. It says to hear the statutes. Hold on, I'm in KJV. It says statutes, judgments, so that you may learn them, keep them, and do them. Hold on just a moment. So statute is, yeah, I don't know how to pronounce all the stuff in Hebrew, okay, so just bear with me. It's the root word is chof, which it's the het, chof, kuf, kuf. The action of it is to inscribe, and the abstract is a custom. And this word, the root word means separation and coming together. It's a custom brings a people that are separated together. There's a few different words that went with this. So you have the one for custom, the appointment of a specific time, function or duty, a custom as something that is appointed. It could be statute, ordinance, decree, a law, portion, bounds, and commandments. And it's also is to write or decree a custom. Which that was interesting because I was already establishing this with my children. Like, this is our new custom for our family now. Like, these are our custom. This is our culture that we are adopting now. Okay, so I thought that was kind of neat. And then these are just a whole bunch of words that I wrote down that went with this too. I just like to write it down just to get like more meanings, more whatever. So like fix the limits, a fixed amount, set portion of food, to circumscribe. I thought the fixed limits was interesting because like, yeah, it's, giving us these things. To protect a basic value, enacting laws that prescribe activity, settling laws that protect something, or excuse me, setting laws that protect something, to grant rights, a fundamental law, legislature, and decisions and deep, okay, yeah, and decisions. So that was what all was contained with this word statute, which when you think about, yeah, his laws and commandments and stuff, that fits, in my opinion, very well. The judgments, it's the word mishpat or shafat, or however it's pronounced. The action is to judge or judgment, rulings over cases, as well as the action of the deciding a case, which is also something you actually see in action in scripture, because yeah, not only gives the commandment or law or instruction, but then he also gives, like, he'll say, do this, and if this is not adhered to, it, punishable by death or excommunicate the member. Or, he always has a prescription of how to handle these cases. So, which is another thing too about his law, his Torah, his laws, instructions and stuff is, um, he always, we're learning how to righteously rule by these things because we see how he handles these things, and he gives us exactly the judgment for these things. So it's like, and it's to create harmony and order, putting things in order, regulating things, championing the rights, justice, righteousness, and privileges. um so I mean, it's not too hard to understand that with judgment, but it also, let's see, another few words with it: a system, a manner to establish and to measure, which of course measure is another interesting one too with judging, especially when we know, like, when you, one of the words for sin is missing the mark, so measuring how far off you are from that bullseye, right? So but yeah, that's another base too with Yah's instructions and stuff, is he's also teaching us how to rule righteously, how to judge righteously on the matters. And it's, I'll be one to attest, and others of you that have been in a situation where we've had to quote unquote judge a situation, going to his word with it. It's a whole nother ball game. Like, you're not going off your own emotions and stuff, although I can get emotional, but when you look at what Yah's putting down, and you're looking at that through how he's telling us to rule, to write, seek judgment on matters, it's just, I can't even describe how much easier it really is, actually, even though it can be kind of difficult sorting through it all. But he definitely has the perfect way to, obviously the perfect way to handle things. So anyway, and then so then it says, so which I speak in your ears this day, that you may learn. And the word for learn is lamed, which is one of the Hebrew letters, the lamed, the shepherd's staff. And the action is to learn. The concrete is a goad. It's the directing the path of the ox by goading it, a learning by goading. So then you just have a few words which interest, or one of the words is Talmud, Talmudim, which are what the disciples are in the New Testament. A student, one who is goaded in a direction. To teach, learn, instruct, expert, skillful, or teacher, a pointed staff for directing oxen that are in a yoke. To learn for practical use and ethical behavior, teaching, habituating, and directing and goading, which I thought that was neat with the habituating too, because we're to learn self-control, obviously ethical behavior, all these things. So we're to learn these things. And I also thought this was neat because I forget what the word is for it, but it goes back to when Messiah says, "Take my yoke, my burden is light." There's a thing about, or one of the pictures to that was a more experienced ox would get hitched or yoked to the young oxen that was learning to tread out the path or the field, and so we are yoked to Messiah, and he's the learned, experienced one who walks this path with us. So when it said that about the yoke, and then being goaded and directed on the path, so we're learning with him with us on that. So and then it says to keep. Well, interesting with the word keep is it's actually the word for guard, shamar. It's to guard, and the concrete is a briar, so like a thistle, thorn bush, something, and whatever you know a briar is. It says a close watching of something for guarding or protecting. They give a word picture: shepherds constructed corrals of briars at night to protect the flock from predators. The action word for guard is to watch over or guard in the sense of preserving and protecting, which is what we're to do, is preserve and Yah's word. And when I think of protecting, I think it's that contending for the faith and standing on the truth. And I have some good testimonies with that myself. Like it's very. I've watched for a while these different debates people have, and you will notice there's a different thing with those that are guarding and staying on the truth. But what I notice even more is those who aren't really part of it but are listening, those that, I don't even know what you would describe them, but people do know the truth when they hear and see it, so they will know. It's almost like that the sheep hear the voice, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. But anyway, so just some more words with it. To protect, to distance from danger, which I kind of see that to go with like to be prudent, guarding, protecting, being careful, being aware, which we're told to be watching and sober-minded, to take note of stuff, supervision, protect the potential, to cover, to erect, or to hold in place. And that protect potential I thought was interesting. I'm sorry I'm elaborating, but I thought that was interesting because like we're like, especially with our children, or even with with us too, there's a potential, there's a seed he plants, and we're actually as parents are supposed to be a part of nourishing and protecting and guiding and guarding that seed within our children. So that protecting the potential I thought was an interesting aspect to this definition, because there's that potential of that seed, for that seed to grow, and Yah's doing that with us. He plants the seed within us, and he's protecting that potential, so keeping that growing up in him and not going astray or whatever. The final word then is that do, which it's simple. It is, the action is to actually do it. It's actually to do, to work. The word is as. It's ayin samic. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. The making or doing of anything, to do or make something, to rot, to deal, to commit, to offer, to execute, to keep, to show, to prepare, to work, to get or to dress, to maintain, work or action, works, acts, labor, doing, etc. And then finally, some more words that go with it: to make, create, forming, doing, observing, fulfilling, causing to grow, developing, limiting or expanding the activity, to trust, create, or the order of events as well. So I just wanted to share those things. I probably talked too fast. Maybe I'll type it up and post it in the events topic room one of these. I only have my little phone, so it won't be like right now or tonight. But I think it's helpful when we kind of, even though we can look at the words judgment, statute, learn and do and keep, I like having more things to, like, it's not just this keep something, like guarding and watching over the protecting. Like to me, that helps me understand that just a little bit more, I guess, gives me a better picture of it. So I just thought I'd share that. Anyway, we can move on.
Well, thank you very much
Oh,
for
thank you.
sharing that, and it is recorded, so if anybody wants to go back and listen to that, I mean, they can go back and re-listen and pause it and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you very
Yeah,
much for
so
sharing that.
at once. Yeah.
I do want to welcome Daryl Lee. Man, where you been, bro?
Daryl.
Well, hey y'all, how's it going? Shalom, everybody.
Hey,
Shalom.
Daryl.
Yeah, I just woke up from a nap a little bit ago, so I'm like, oh, hi, I didn't last time, but well,
Did you get a good rest?
yeah,
How you feeling,
yeah,
brother?
yeah, I'm just feeling a little groggy, so right now, yeah, I'm doing all right.
Okay, good. Well, brother, it's good to hear from you. Kind of missed you last weekend, but I know you got a lot going on, brother.
Yeah, that time, yeah. Last night was pretty busy. We had about a dozen people over for dinner, so it was pretty nice. We had like a little potluck here.
That's good. Well, Veronica just shared about Deuteronomy 5:6 and what did a word study on going through all of that was pretty cool. He caught the tail end of it.
Yeah, luckily it's recorded. I didn't even think of that. I'm like, I gotta type this up.
Well, hey, now you don't have to type it up. Now you can just go back and re-listen to it. Go ahead, Daryl. I think
Yeah,
you was.
yeah, I have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, I just was sharing because this last Shabbat with my children, we're kind of going back to basics. So I'm starting at Deuteronomy 5, and I grabbed the definitions of what it meant when it says to keep the statutes and judgments, to learn, keep, and do them. So that's what I just went over, what I got out of the Hebrew lexicon and etymology books. It's not like it's way off of what we pretty much understand what these things are, but I like having for myself and of course for the children giving more explanation. Sometimes it gives a better picture, understanding, and so I thought I'd share that
Right.
because they were going over. David brought up the commandments that are supposed to be done away with, but reading them throughout the New Testament, how they're still obviously applicable.
Right. And speaking of that, um, did we want to continue with that? What
Uh, I put a mark in the thing. I probably have to get going pretty soon. I gotta wake up early in the morning.
I got you. I do too, unfortunately. But fortunately that I get to, because if I didn't have to, I'd probably be starving to death. So it's catch 22.
No, praise
Well,
Yah.
it
Yeah.
just gives more shows to do, and it's actually I like that it's you're breaking it down because it gives time to go over each section at a time.
Yeah, I do like that it may seem like a slow pace for us, but to someone else, we might be just rushing through it. So we definitely don't want to get past, run past anyone or something like that. But Dave, I do want to thank you for sharing what you have, and thank you for showing up every week and us studying some more, man. It's been a pleasure.
No, I thank you all. I love you all, and it's awesome to read scriptures and talk about things, and each person has just like an awesome gift that Yah's given you to help in the process of what we're doing. I don't think one of us has all the answers. I think that all of us together has a lot of really good answers that comes from the Most High.
I agree.
So I appreciate and love every single one of you, and thank you. And may Yah Baruch you all this week, and I hope to see you all next week, Yah willing.
Bless you too, Dave. Sorry I was late for this one, but I'm glad y'all got it recorded. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
And many blessings to you, brother.
We appreciate you, David. Talk soon, man.
Yep. Bye.
Well, y'all, I'm gonna be a little bit honest. I'm not feeling all that great. It's just been kind of off and on. It's kind of why I've not really been into it tonight as much, I guess. But I do want to
Do
thank
you want
each and
to
every one of
close
y'all
out
for
your?
coming.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was probably gonna end the live stream here. But I mean, I'm gonna hang out a little while. But um, yeah, I don't really have anything else prepared. But
Let's say goodnight to the YouTube.
yeah, good night, you too.
More like good morning, Daryl.
I'm gonna mute for just a moment, y'all. I'll be right back too. All right. Well, anybody that might still be listening, I don't think they can hear me in Discord. Uh, oh, but I can. But thank you all for coming by. Um, we usually do go a little bit longer than what we just did, but like I say, I'm not feeling all that great, and both of us kind of got to get up pretty early in the morning. But thank y'all all for coming by. Many blessings to y'all, and see y'all next week. 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. We try to get together and get this started off. But thank you all for coming. Many blessings.